Genesis 11. God hates it when people know how to communicate. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. Isn't that amazing? One language, common speech. It's like the ingredients to world peace. You know who hates that? God. By the way, in the previous chapter, we learned there were already other languages. What happened to all of them? Suddenly everyone speaks the same thing? How? Also, this story does not belong here. We just finished a long, boring genealogy, and we're about to go into another long, boring genealogy. It's not like this story fits chronologically in between. It's like someone wrote this myth and shoved it in at the last second. The Bible is a poorly written book. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone, and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Really? A tower? You barely have huts, but you're gonna build a skyscraper? And you can reach heaven with a tower? I mean, I've seen rocket ships go to the moon. They did not pass heaven along the way. So how tall was this tower gonna be? The Tower of Babel has come to represent hubris and arrogance. But really, the reason it's a bad thing is because it's a monument to something other than God. So who's really the arrogant person in this story? But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other." How awful of a person must you be to see other people working together and achieving success and immediately think, "I must destroy them." Also, God could have sent a hurricane after they built the tower. He could have just tipped it over. Messing with their language seems unnecessarily complicated. I've never heard of an evil villain trying to stop his enemies by saying, "Okay, first I'm gonna get in there and force one of them to speak Mandarin." Why does God need to come down to see the city anyway? Isn't he all-knowing? What, he has bad eyesight up in the clouds? And how little self-confidence does God have that he sees this tower being built and worries he'll be overthrown or something? And why does God say, "Let us go down"? Who's us? Angels? Maybe, since this story is stolen from an ancient Sumerian myth, it could just be a reference to other gods in a polytheistic universe that the Bible people forgot to write out. Oops. So the Lord scattered them from there all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there, the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. That's it? They gave up? It's a tower! How much language do you need to go like this? I can't get over what God just did. People were working in harmony, and God ruined it. The moral of the story should be, don't trust this guy. Also, the story just says God scattered them. How? Did he scoop them up and throw them somewhere? Did he grab a giant broom? I feel like that deserves an answer, but I won't get it because it's time for more genealogy. This is the account of Shem's family line. 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. And after he became the father of Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and had other sons and daughters. Hey, daughters! They exist. Also, notice how the ages of all the people now get much smaller. They're no longer 800, 900 years old. They're having babies around 100. Kids these days just don't have patience. One more contradiction to point out. In Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, God said the age limit would now be 120. Turns out God lied. Again. When Arphaxad had lived 35 years, he became the father of Selah. And after he became the father of Selah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Selah had lived 30 years, he became the father of Eber. And after he became the father of Eber, Selah lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he became the father of Peleg. And after he became the father of Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he became the father of Reu. And after he became the father of Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and had other sons and daughters. Okay, I get the point. But at least we're done with. When Reu had lived 32 years, he became the father of Serug. And after he became the father of Serug, Reu lived 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he became the father of Nahor. And after he became the father of Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he became the father of Terah. And after he became the father of Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and had other sons and daughters. After Terah had lived 70 years, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Well, that was just riveting. But at least we are done with. This is the account of Terah's family line. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran became the father of Lot. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans, in the land of his birth. Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, the father of both Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was childless because she was not able to conceive. Well, there's a weird twist at the end. We barely hear about any women in this lineage, but when they finally give us a detail, it's to tell us we should blame a woman for not being able to continue the family tree. By the way, Abram and Sarai are going to magically change into Abraham and Sarah in a few chapters. Why? Because the Bible never hired continuity editors. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. If you do the math after all this, by the time Terah died, here's who was still alive: Shem, Arphaxad, Selah, and Eber. They all watched their descendants die of old age, which is a sentence that makes no sense. Eber outlived his great-grandson. The Bible is not literally true. But if it makes you feel better, Terah is the last person who will live longer than 120 years old. After all these genealogies, do you even feel bad for them? The good news is we are done with genealogies, at least for a while. The bad news is that Genesis doesn't start making any more sense.